Hi, I'm Ollie Morris, and I'm here today with Event School London. And today we're speaking with Sharifa Wilkinson. Thank you for joining today.
No worries.
As you
Thanks for
know,
having me.
that you've joined our In Conversation with series, where we're speaking to students, graduates, and just experts in the field, and also teachers. And you're one of our teachers. So how did you actually get into the industry in the first place? And how I know that you were like a footballer. Were you professional
So
or
amateur, but the
amateur?
way that it worked when I guess I was playing is I had received a soccer scholarship to the United States. I'm originally Canadian, but at that time it was kind of one of the highest levels in women's football. Obviously, you can go on to play professional, or you could go on and play internationally with the international team, like World Cup, Euros, that type of thing. But still, one of the highest levels that women can play at. So I got involved in sport at a really early age, like 4 years old. So I've always been around it in some capacity. I've played in hundreds of soccer tournaments. In high school, I played basketball and volleyball. So I've just been really interested in sport for a very long time. And I would volunteer in a variety of different capacities to help, execute games or execute tournaments. But I never thought it was going to be a part of my career. And then I went to university in the States, and my freshman year, the summer, I went in for knee surgery. I thought it was going to be just a month, and it ended up being 1 month on crutches, no running for several months.
Oh wow!
And I was told that I couldn't play soccer for a year. And I think that was the first time it really hit me like, oh, you might not go on to play professionally. You need to take steps to ensure that you have a career in some capacity. So then I started volunteering as much as I could and interning. My first gig actually was working in the athletics department. The assistant athletic director was in her office, and I was, walking by on my crutches, and I came over to her and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for something to do this summer. Can I intern? I'll get you coffees, whatever you want. I could do some filing." And she's like, "I don't really have anything for you to do, but sure." And then from there, that's kind of how my career took off. I learned that if you approach people and you're just really open and honest about wanting to gain experience, that they're willing to help. So I worked in a few different areas in our athletics department. And then I also worked for like some local organizations. I started to get more involved. And so much so that my friends started calling me the professional volunteer, because any volunteer opportunity to do with sports, I would put my hand up and, I was going.
So very proactive.
Yeah, very, very proactive, because I just knew, like, in order to break into this industry, I needed as much experience as I could
get.
So
Take us like a timeline of from that day on, in terms of roles and what sort of jobs you've had in the past. I know you've worked internationally, as you said, but talk about where have you worked around the world.
So I started with pretty much grassroots level events. And from there I just gained experience, once again, putting my hand up for any opportunity that I could be involved in sports. I ran some really small grassroots sport events, and those were really fun because I got to like take some of the things that I'd learned from being in the United States and transfer that to my roles in Toronto. And then the Pan Am Games was in Toronto in 2015, and I realized that I needed to get involved in any way, shape, or form.
So I suppose that's sort of lucky that the Pan Am Games was in your home country. So
absolutely, yeah. And because I had that experience of working in sport in the United States, and then I could talk about the experience that I had developed working for the city, then I was able to make that transition into the games. And this was an amazing experience. And I realized, like, yes, this is what I want to do. And I met all these professionals that had been all over the world. I'm talking every corner of the world working on sporting events. And to me, I felt like I was at home.
Yeah.
Like, they were young and dynamic and like really fun to work with. And I thought, yep, this is it. So when I was working for the Pan Am Games, I met some senior managers from the Commonwealth Games, and they said, we really like you. If you can get your own visa, we'll help you out when you get to Australia and getting a job. But I thought, if I want to start working abroad, I have to make this leap. So I resigned from my role at the Pan Am Sports Center. And I spoke to my boss about what I was interested in doing. And he was like, yeah, definitely. You're young. Why not give it a try? So I moved to Australia with one suitcase and like maybe 2 or 3 contacts.
Wow.
And I applied for everything, pretty much anything that came out that was relevant to my experience, I applied. And I met up with a couple contacts that I met at the Pan Am Games, and I said, hey, I'm really interested in getting involved in the games. Like, can you help me out in any way? So I started to get a few interviews, and then from there I was able to secure a role, which was
Wow.
great. And then from Australia, I kind of moved on. Sorry, so the Commonwealth Games are in Australia and the Gold Coast. From there, I moved on to the RFU Games, which was in the Northern Territory. It was a multi-sport event, much smaller than the Commonwealth Games, but once again, able to develop and build my skills. And then from Australia, I decided to move to London. And I started working as a senior venue operations manager for Tower Bridge, just based on the experience that I had developed kind of traveling all over the world.
Wow, okay, that's really interesting. So from those roles you've had and the events you've worked on, so what was the most, what's the particular event you've enjoyed working on the most?
I would say the Commonwealth Games, just because I had made up my mind like a year or 2 years before that this is what I wanted to do. I kind of sacrificed everything to move there to make it happen. And then I had an amazing boss. I had an amazing team. I loved the venues. It was just everything that I had hoped for, it was, and more. And it was such a great learning opportunity. So I think, yeah, definitely the Commonwealth Games. It was really well run. Really quite pleased with it.
I suppose the weather helps as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the Gold Coast is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And it was like 22 degrees plus every day.
Wow.
My apartment was like maybe a 5-minute walk from the beach. And then it was just like miles and miles of gold.
Wow.
Sand.
That sounds amazing. So if you think back to all the roles you've had before, what's the most challenging moments you've had during your career?
I would have to say working at Tower Bridge, actually one of the most challenging roles. There's so many stakeholders and it's a high volume turnover of events. So in the busy peak period, we were turning over like 7 to 10 events. So each week. Wow. And there's so much planning, so much coordination that goes into it. You're dealing with the clients, you're dealing with the internal stakeholder, which I mean would be the warehouse or the kitchen, making sure that the food is delivered on time, making sure that the right utensils are brought in on time. And then you're working with Tower Bridge, so the City of London Corporation. So there's like all these different managers that you have to work with in order to execute an event. Wow. And that doesn't include like the suppliers that you have to bring in. And probably one of the most challenging things about working at Tower Bridge is the time frame. So every day, Tower Bridge is open from 9, I think it's 9:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. to the public. And then the public has until 5:30 to leave. And then from 5:30 till 6:30 or 7, we turn over a space from like a public exhibition to an event space for, receptions for 200 or dinners for 120. So it's really, really intense. But I've never learned as much in a role as I have in that position. And that's one thing that I would say, probably the positions in which you learn the most won't be the easiest positions. It's where it's really difficult is where you learn. That's where you grow.
I suppose that's a benefit for working in a high pressure environment as well. So you're working under pressure all the time. So I guess over the years you've worked in events, you might have made a few mistakes. I'm not saying you have or haven't. But what are the common mistakes a new event manager often make, if you witnessed that at all?
Yes. I would say the biggest one is not networking right away.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people, especially, and I know I did this when I came in at a coordinator level, I thought, oh man, like I'm not important enough, or I shouldn't speak to this person because, they're super, super busy. But as I get older and as I have more experience in the industry, I actually realized that those people are just willing to help because everyone's kind of in it together.
So you say networking, and some people, if people are watching and they have no clue of how to network, how do you network? Do you just say, do you fancy catching with a coffee or go for lunches? Or because I know from my time at uni, people ask that question all the time. I was wondering how, from your past experience, how have you done it? in the roles you've done before?
Yes. But I think it starts off with if there's a social gathering, for example, you're working for a company, or if it's a large multi-sport event, there's so many people and you're like, ooh, do I talk to this person? Who is this person? But it's as simple as when you're going in to make a coffee in the morning, saying, good morning. Good morning, how are you?
Simple
and
things
just,
like that.
just starting off that conversation. And now that could be a future connect if you guys get along. And maybe it's nothing, but at least you're being friendly. Another thing I would say is like go to social gatherings. I think that's really important. So if anything is organized by your company, and let's say you have plans with your friends that Friday night and there's something that's going on with your company, go to your company thing, stay for a little bit, meet some people, and then go see your friends. I would say another aspect of networking is following up. So let's say you meet someone and you have a really good conversation. Before the conversation ends, say, oh, can I add you on LinkedIn? And then you can make that connection right then and there, so that you have that person's contact. Because sometimes you meet hundreds of people, you have that conversation for 5 minutes, and then you try and add them 3 months later, but they don't remember who you are. So it's really important to make that connection as soon as you can. My friends and colleagues who are really great networkers, what they're good at is like sending a note, not very often, like, hey, how's it going? I saw something that made me think of you and just wanted to say hi and checking in. And that's really easy to do. And I mean, obviously you would probably have more of a relationship with that person if that's the type of message that you're going to send. But if they don't reply to you, it is what it is. But most people, they will reply.
From your experience, it seems like you've been quite successful in your field. What does make a successful event manager? I know you.
I think relationship building, and I think I said this in class, I think it's one of the most vital skills that you can have, that it makes such a big difference, especially when you're under pressure. I'm going to reference Tower Bridge again. So when we're working those events and we have multiple events in certain areas, because of my relationships with certain staff, I would be able to say, can you please, this was forgotten, that was forgotten, or, this happened, that happened. And can you help us out? And because I had those relationships, I was able to get them to help me out. So I think building those relationships are absolutely essential, because our job is really about bringing people and resources together to execute something, to deliver something. But the most important part is people. So if you can get people to work for you, if you can get people to work with you, if you can get people to do the best that they can to help you achieve your goals or to help achieve the goals of your clients, then I think that's the most important. Another thing that I would add is being organized, especially if you have a high volume of events. If you're not organized, if you can't remember which client is which, if you have the wrong information in the wrong place, then you'll get nothing done, and you'll spend so much time trying to make up for those errors. So definitely, relationship building, communication, and organization.
What type of event would you like to work in the future?
What type of an event? I've always wanted to work in the Olympics, and it's something that I've been talking about for probably 10 years. And the last Olympics didn't work out, but I had a contract to work for this, for the hospitality supplier for this Olympics.
Oh, really?
Which was supposed to be 2020 Olympics.
Oh, no.
And because it was pushed back, I haven't had an opportunity. So hopefully, wow. I don't know, at some point in the future, it would be lovely to work in Olympics in some capacity. I think it's absolutely amazing. And then obviously, because I'm a football person, I would love to work the World Cup, a football World Cup.
So I know you've gone from working events to actually teaching people like me in events and delivering that sort of content. I know you touched before about you wanted to sort of give back to students about providing education for people like me. But how are you finding that, and how are you finding that relationship with students and delivering that sort of content?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's something that I've wanted to do in this capacity for a really long time. Not unfortunately, virtually is a little bit different because when I'm in the classroom, I love to do activities. I love people standing up and moving it around, because that's
Mm.
part of being an event manager. An event manager, when they're delivering an event, doesn't actually sit for 12 hours a day. They're on the ground, they're moving around, they're checking this, they're doing that. So I think it's great. And kind of the way that I see my career evolving is, one pillar is working international events, working sporting events, and then the other pillar is working in education and teaching students. So it really works quite nicely, and one helps to inform the other one really well. So if I'm not in the field and I'm not gaining these experiences, then I'm not able to explain to my students, real life scenarios and what happened in this scenario and what went well and what didn't go so well.
What advice would you give students currently studying, or about graduates, and how to sort of move forward during coronavirus situation?
Yep. I would say make yourself undeniable. And that just means doing whatever you can to learn and get ahead. I know with you, Ollie, you just graduated from university, and then you took a sports management course with the Event School London, and now you're taking a project management course. I think that's essential. As much education as you can, it will not count against you. I think that is so important. So that when your time comes, which it will, you have everything that you need to then perform effectively in that role. So definitely education is one of the most important parts. And then explore your passions right now, because it's, I'm looking around at my LinkedIn and, people are being made redundant, people are being laid off. So right now the industry is at a standstill. That's what it is. But all you can do is prepare yourself for that next opportunity. Once things start to develop, once sports starts to get back on, if you can volunteer in any type of capacity, definitely volunteer. The jobs might not be readily available, but volunteering allows you to get into that space, allows you to meet some people. If you share your dreams and your goals, next time they're thinking about, oh, I need someone to do this, you might be someone that comes to mind, and then they can reach out, and maybe that's an opportunity. So it's really important to create your opportunity as much as you can. And it's not always easy, especially during this time, but do everything that you can towards working towards.
Well, I hope our viewers take that on board and use it wisely, especially all the time they've got.
I'm teaching a course called Festivals and Cultural Event Management, July 6th through the 10th, and I'm really excited about this. So I started off working cultural events primarily for the city of Toronto, and they're really close to my heart. I think future, long-term future, I'd love to get back into festivals and cultural events. I've got some really great activities planned for this course, virtual activities, and it's something that I really enjoyed in our sport management class, working on some of the activities. So I'm really looking forward to this festival and cultural events class, because I feel like I have some really great activities and key learnings for the students to take away.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I'll recommend anyone who's watching to actually buy the course and go with it. Sharifa is very good at teaching students and getting her message across. So hopefully people can go on the course. Well, thank you for today. It's been a pleasure to have you on on the series. It's our first one, well, for me anyway.
Yes.
So thank you for all your time, and we'll get back, or I'll catch up with you soon.